If you want to see me unveil the secrets behind the rock solid foundation that propelled my business from $0 to $150,000 in annual revenue in the first year, stay tuned because I'll be sharing the 3 key concepts that helped me reach that goal. Let's go. Hey guys, my name is Ricardo Vargas and welcome to the journey from 0 to a million and beyond, where I document my journey to work success in the business world from zero until I reach my goals. Throughout this journey, I will be documenting my raw experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and share them with you guys. Now, I think more successful individuals should be documenting their journey as well, so I hope to do that here. Thank you very much for investing your time and energy into this, and I hope you enjoy. In today's topic, I will be talking about how I built the foundation in which my business currently runs. I'll be sharing the market research that I did, all the assets that I invested into at the beginning, and I'll be talking about one crucial business concept that a lot of small businesses and people that are just getting started in business get wrong and end up paying a lot throughout their journey. Now, I made that mistake myself in the beginning, but I quickly learned, I quickly fixed it, so I do want to share that with you guys. So you're gonna have to stick around for that, and let's dive right in. So first, the research that I've done. Now, in relates to the research, I basically did 3 main points. I researched my market, I figured out what my target audience was going to be, and then I figured out what I needed to learn from the resources that I had at hand. Now, let's dive into market research first. Now, first thing that I did when analyzing and researching into my market was, can I make this business profitable? Essentially, assessing profitability basically means, does this business make any sense? Is it even considered a business? Like, being in business meaning that you make profit out of whatever you sell, whether it's a service or a product, right? So does the business make sense? How do I figure that out? Just look around. Do you see that business around you? Is it a common thing? Do a lot of people go into business for this thing? And in my case, it was a lawn care and landscaping, and there's a lot of companies around here that are very successful, others that are not, others that are just a solopreneur. And so I definitely had my answer for that it was a very viable business and that it was going to work out. So that checks off number 1. Number 2, competition. Now, for the competition, you have to know who you're going up against, whether it's a national known brand, a franchise, like more of a mom and pop, or is it just, your neighbor down the street that's doing this? Why is this important? Because not only will you know who you stand up against, you will also be able to research them, figure out how they run their operations, how they run their marketing, how the sales systems work, how does the customer service work. That in itself would answer so many questions that you might have in the beginning, and just, maybe even going up to them, maybe going to their office or their facility and just meeting with the general manager, or sometimes the owner might be there, and just asking for advice, saying, hey, I want to start something. Can I learn from you? Is there anything that you can teach me? Blah, 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 blah. And, another viable option to learn is, to figure out your competition, is to actually be part of it. Sometimes applying for a job to it can speed up the process of learning, right? So that takes care of the competition. The third point in my market research was figuring out my average rate or my market rate. In my case, it was an hourly rate charge per man hour. And this can be figured out in a couple ways, right? So first, you can, go with formulas and just figuring out, your flat monthly expenses, whether that's your insurance, your loan payments, all your software needs, things like that. They're always set. They always have the same price, right? And figuring out your variable expenses, which would be your payroll, depending on your hours and stuff. And then doing that, you will eventually figure out your market rate. But an easier way to doing this, if you don't necessarily know those numbers yet, will be, again, diving back to the competition. What are people charging for their services around you? What are the high-end professional companies charging? What is a less professional, more mom and pop charging? Now, take the highest one, take the lowest one, and then just put yourself in the middle there. Make sure you do a good job. You should be fine. Now, that's what I did from market research. Moving on, figuring out your target audience. Now, for my target audience, it was essentially 2 steps. Figuring out what my ideal customer was going to look like, and this essentially means, who are you trying to sell to that will be the easiest, right? Because you don't want to make it hard for yourself. Why would you want to make it hard for yourself? For example, for me, it would be homeowners, maybe with families, making over maybe 100K, maybe they have a car or two, maybe they're in their late 20s, early 30s, maybe 40 and up. The more specific and the more niche you create your target audience, the less it's going to be when it comes to spending your marketing dollars, because you won't be spending your dollars, advertising to maybe kids or, two elderly folk that are about to go into, their next stage of life. It helps out to know your target audience and to filter it out as much as possible so that you cut out all the other waste. Now, how to reach your customer, your target audience, is also a very crucial point. The way that I did it was essentially figuring out different marketing strategies that will target these things. One of them is figuring out the neighborhoods that my target audience usually stays in, which would be more neighborhoods in houses, not necessarily apartment complexes, because that doesn't really make any sense unless I was in commercial, right? Looking into neighborhoods or zip codes with a higher income also does help. There's tools for this everywhere online. The U.S. postal system is great at this. You just go under the EDDM, which is Every Door Direct Mail. They have charts full of different zip codes and based on their income. The third point in my whole research before starting was learning from others. Now, this is probably one of the most crucial things because you don't have all the answers at first. No one's ever going to have all the answers at first. You want to learn as much as you can before starting to avoid headaches. Now, I essentially started online, right? Started with YouTube, podcast, business books, anything that I could, I could become a sponge and just suck all that information in, whenever, for example, if you're trying to get into construction, go into YouTube. How does construction work? What equipment do I need? How does, a daily day look like? How does sales systems look like? YouTube has a lot of resources, a lot of videos, and a lot of content creators that help you out with that. Same as podcasts. Books, for books, I was looking more into foundational books that build business fundamentals, like, knowing what profit is, knowing more terminology. Focus more on those books. Another point in the learning from others would be learning strategies and efficiencies for others. This essentially means ask for help. Now, by asking for help, is again from your competition, just go and ask, like, how can I start my business? What did you do to start your business? The more questions you ask, the more information you'll get, the smarter you'll get, the better you'll be set up in the beginning. So that's what I did for my research at first. Let's move on to the next topic. Hey guys, just a quick announcement that I have to make. We will be having some guests join us in our podcast and in our show very, very soon in the next couple episodes. So if you have any questions, any topics, or anything that you want us to talk about, whether it's business related or life related, do let me know and we will accommodate as we go. Thank you very much for your time again. Thank you very much for your attention and just hope to bring some value to you guys. Now, when it comes to the assets that I bought in the beginning for starting my business, I focused on three main points again. This is a terminal, more serious business term. This is PPE. PPE stands for Property, Plant, and Equipment, which essentially just means any equipment that you need to get started, whether it's tools, machinery, more stuff like that. Vehicles that I might need, and figuring out all the initial expenses. Now, for the property, tools, and equipment, essentially for me it was software, hand tools, machine tools, and figuring out a location to house all of those. So basically what I had to figure out for software was the CRM, how to build like my inbox, my email, website, payroll, all of that falls under software. And the business location was essentially just a storage unit that I could put all my tools in. Now, for the vehicles, this took a little bit longer just because of the market that we were at the time. Used cars were going for even more than new cars, so it did take a while to find something good, but as long as you keep at it, you will find it. I found a very nice F-150 at $7,000 for, it was like, what, 90,000, 80,000, 90,000 miles, around that. 2011, a little bit on the other side, but it had everything that I needed to get started, and that's what matters. Now, for all the other initial expenses that I had, like, for example, all the legal expenses, whether that's like, building your LLC, having all your insurance set up, making sure that you have all the necessary licenses, making sure all of that it gets straight out and gets ironed out in the beginning is very crucial, because these are mundane tasks. Let's just be honest. These are mundane tasks that no one wants to do, but they're very, very important. And if you have any of your legal work messed up, it will affect you sooner or later. And you don't want that to happen, because the amount of fines and the amount of risk that you will take on is just not worth it. Just take the time and take the money and go pay someone to do it. You don't have to do it yourself, and just pay it up. Even if it's a little expensive at first, it will save you a lot of time and trouble. Now, how was I able to afford all of this? Let me do a little bit of breakdown. Now, my initial investment was $15,000. That's all I could get my hands on at that time. I had $5,000 cash, $5,000 that I took from a personal loan from my local credit union. It's like a 3.5%, which is not bad at all for a personal loan. Personal loans usually go for like 8-10%. It's crazy, but I got a very good deal. So took that was $10K. And then I just took a family loan from one of my family members that just had some money lying around. I asked for it. He gave it to me. So that was a true blessing. Now, with those $15,000, you might be asking, why would I not just save it up? Why would I take on the debt that I had to take for that personal loan? This is a business topic that we might be able to dive into a little later, but I'll just go through it real quick. It's called leverage debt. Essentially what it means is that instead of you spending your own cash, instead of businesses spending their own cash, they will save it up, use it towards, focusing more on the sales, on the marketing side, to multiply those dollars. And they take that borrowed funds from a bank or a private lender, whatever it is. They take that and they put it into an asset, like, for example, a vehicle or tools or any other expenses. They pour it towards that, because the payments that you will make monthly, whether it's like $200-$300, is relatively nothing towards the thousands of dollars that a good asset will get you in your business, right? So, for example, for me, it was a truck. For you, it might be, depending on what, like, let's say you're starting a gym. For you, it might be the weights or the mats or the actual loan for the place that you're doing it. Without that loan, you will not even be able to start it, right? So it makes sense when going into debt makes sense is when you can associate that with a return on investment, right? So when your payments on that loan are relatively less than to what you're actually making thanks to that loan, that's good debt leverage. Moving on, let's go to the next point. Now we come to our most important business concept that a lot of business owners and first-time entrepreneurs get wrong. That is brand. Building your brand is crucial to your business. Without it, you wouldn't have a business to begin with. Brands have come a long way since their initial concept. Cows were among the first to be branded. For example, if you have Bob the farmer brand his cow and Stuart the other farmer not brand his cow, our girl Lisa, who's driving along the country road, will react different once she sees them. For example, let's say you're Lisa. You're driving down and then you see a cow in the middle of the street, in the middle of the road. And, she gets out and you're like, oh, wow, I have this cow. Let me take it back home. But then you see that it has a brand, Bob's brand, which is a big B. Now she's like, oh no, this cow has a B. It's Bob's cow. I can't take it. Let me go give it back to him. That's branding at its finest. She recognized that the cow was Bob's because of the B, because of the brand. Now she went to go give it back. Now let's set the example for Stuart's cow. Lisa goes back on the road again, drives down, and then sees a cow in the middle of the road again. She's like, man, another cow. Let me see if I can take this one home. She realizes that there's no branding anywhere on this cow. So what does she do? She takes it home. She wants some milk for herself. She takes it home. And now steward is one cow less. You know, your brand is 100% tied to the value that you bring to your customers. Your reputation and how good you are at what you do, it directly impacts your bottom line. Now, there's two different types. We will go over them: personal brand and business brand. Today, we'll focus more on business brand. We can go into personal brands a little later. That's just because we're not focused on personal brands right now. Business brands essentially have three key elements: your logos, your colors, and the name of your business. Now, making sure you have a good brand before starting a business is very crucial. Your logo represents the brand the most. Now, most people think of Nike or Apple, Amazon. They all have very distinct logos that anybody can recognize from miles away, right? And that's kind of what you want to get to. Usually, the logo that you pick out has something to do with the industry that you're in or the service that you provide, right? There's obvious exceptions, but that's mostly what you want to focus on as your first business. You know, figure out a logo that goes along with what you're doing, so people, when they see it, they realize, oh, you know, this guy is doing this, or he's starting a gym, he's doing some type of fitness, you know, he's doing consulting, whatever. Make sure that your logo aligns with your services. Now, your brand colors, keeping them consistent throughout your business will help you stand out from the rest. Why am I saying that? Your brand colors, whether it's in your business cards, the logo itself, the website, your marketing material, all of these are very important to keep consistent, because that builds brand awareness. That lets people know that who your brand is, in a way. Let me explain. Now, take, for example, let's take Best Buy. Don't know why. Best Buy or IKEA. You know, they have the blue and the yellow. So whenever you're on the road and you see big blue and big yellow, you immediately say, oh, you know, it's either IKEA or it's Best Buy, because those colors are directly associated with those brands. That's what we're trying to get to here. Make colors that stand out, one, that go together, two, and that will directly represent your business. Now, having a catchy name, something short, sweet, and simple that people will remember is crucial as well. Don't be so complicated. And if you're ever gonna take any word of advice from me, do not use your name. I know sometimes it might work for some people, but most of the times it doesn't. Why? Because your name is not scalable. Whenever you think of a business, think of it long term. Don't think of it as, you know, short term money. Think of it long term. Your Jim's accounting, or Jim's mowing, or, you know, Jim's basketball practice, or whatever you want. Jim's gym. It's not a very scalable. People, once you start, you're gonna be the one interacting with all your customers. You're a gym. So guess what? Whenever someone has a problem, who are they gonna call? Jim. Even if you have an office person, or if you have a bunch of customer representatives, they're gonna be like, no, I want to talk to Jim. Why? Because Jim is clearly the owner. Why? Because his name is part of the business. You want to separate yourself as much from the business as possible as you scale up. Why? Because you don't always want to stay in the daily operations. You want to eventually step out of daily operations, and with your name and your brand, kind of doesn't go. Those two don't go together. Now, when it comes to personal brands, that's a completely different game. But as a business, do not use your name. You will thank me later. Now, these were all very important parts of building my business foundation, getting us through our first year. Make sure to go to do the research into your business. Make sure that you're focusing on making your brand stand out, making sure the assets that you invest really pay off in the long run. Do your research beforehand. And all of this goes without saying, the importance of your dedication and your hard work. The only bottleneck in your business will eventually be your lack of knowledge, and the amount of work that you're willing to put in. Nothing else will be as big of a bottleneck as that. Everything else can be figured out with either more labor or more time or more money. But if you become the bottleneck, you you will be what essentially breaks your business down. So just make sure you're not. All right. And those were the business concepts that helped me build the foundation in which my business currently runs on. Thank you very much for your time, guys. Let me know if you get any value from this or things that I can improve on, if you learned anything along the way. All the feedback will be really important. If you want to watch the video version of this podcast, just look at us up on YouTube. It's Ricardo Vargas on YouTube. And if you are watching this on YouTube, I do really want to thank you very much for your attention and your time. It's very valuable to me, and I really do appreciate that. Now, in the next episode, we'll be talking about the importance of self-education in the business world, how your personal life really does directly impact, and why your work-life balance that you might be seeking just doesn't really work out when you're getting into the business world. And we'll be talking about one other crucial concept that you'll just have to wait for. You'll just have to look, and you just have to watch, listen. Now, make sure you stay tuned for that, and please give me feedback down in the comments or just get in contact with me. Thank you very much for your time again, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.